Hey, everybody. I suppose I should start by apologizing for picking such an odd topic, but this has been on my mind lately. And last year was a doozy for some of this stuff. So, YouTuber apology videos. They sure suck, don't they? I mean, yeah, in some cases for very specific reasons, and I'll talk a little bit about some of them, but this is not a specific analysis of any given apology video. I just found myself thinking about the general fact that has there ever been a good or successful or just not embarrassing YouTuber apology video? I'm not sure there ever has. They never seem to work. They never seem to help whatever the situation is. And they are often incredibly memeable for the worst reasons. But why? Why does nobody on this platform know how to apologize? There are actually reasons for that. That's kind of what I want to talk about. Now, as I said, I don't want to dive too far into any of the specifics of why any given YouTuber has or has not had to issue apologies. I will cite some specific examples, but only to be illustrative of the kind of thing that I am talking about. Obviously, the two big ones from last year were James Somerton and Colleen Ballinger. Whew! Yeah, those were big. Quick overview. James Somerton was I'll say accused, but it was basically proven very extensively, was a massive plagiarist and also liar of a YouTube essayist. He presented stuff as if he had done research when in fact he just stole other people's words and presented them as his own. And he tried to issue an apology video and it went very badly and he took it down pretty quickly, as tends to be the fate of most apology videos. They don't stay up long as a rule. Then there was Colleen Ballinger, who had some very troubling allegations in regards to how she behaved around some of her younger fans, and she opted to address that by playing the ukulele. Yeah. Why do any of these folks think this stuff's going to work? Well, because they're caught in a crossroads. The thing is, doing this as a job puts you in a weird place where, like, you're you, but you're also a business. And this isn't about, like, necessarily the parasocial end of it is like, oh, you think you know me, but you don't really know me. Like, that factors in a little, but I mean more just you have to apologize as a person, but you also have to try and apologize as a business. And those are two things that don't go well together. Businesses issuing apologies, well, their priority has to be, we promise we'll do better. Don't stop consuming our product, whatever that might be. Don't stop buying whatever we make. Don't stop watching whatever we put out. Or a very common thing in the video game realm is what's known as the solemn JPEG, the apology for usually massively buggy or misrepresented launches of video games. And they also don't really work, but they keep being put out because they have to put out something. And of course they don't work. It's base level corporate paddlum. Like, they're just saying the things that they think maybe people will be less mad at us if we say this. And then they just try and move forward. But like, it's very, we need to protect the company and save face as a business. That's what these things are meant to do. They almost never work, but like, that's its purpose. Now, if you're wronged by someone in your personal life and you want a personal apology, what you expect out of that is an acknowledgement of the harm that was caused, a validation of your pain if what they did hurt you in specific, and not just a vague pledge to do better, but showing a concrete understanding of what it is that this person did wrong and what steps they need to take in order to get better. And possibly the most important thing, no actual expectation of being forgiven. Nothing undercuts an apology faster than the underlying sense of, you really desperately want me to forgive you, don't you? Because the best apologies, in my opinion, are ones that are issued in full acknowledgement of what happened, but are not done presuming that you will therefore forgive me because I apologized. Now, corporations can't do that because they need you to keep consuming their products. Individuals can. Like, it hurts if you've done something wrong and if you've apologized for it. If that person doesn't forgive you and they are now gone from your life, that can still hurt. But that's also something that a good personal apology should carry. You know, that sense of, I understand if I am losing you because of what I did. Again, businesses, they can try and do that, but nobody buys it because they don't want you to go away. They want you to keep spending money. And YouTubers caught smack dab in the middle of this because we have to present the apologies as a person, but we have to do it on behalf of a business. Whether or not any given YouTuber is big enough to have actually formed a corporation and have employees, that's not the point. The point is, you yourself are the business, unless you are part of a larger organization where you are not the entirety of it. And that's why in some cases where the person at issue has not been, the entire thing, it wasn't their personal channel, they were part of something larger. So like Ned from the Try Guys or Philip Mewson over at IGN, they just got fired because, they can issue whatever personal apologies they want, but you're gone from this business. But for somebody like James Somerton, like Colleen Ballinger, hell, like me, what is this channel if I'm not here? Nobody else is going to do this. So you have to try and issue an apology for stuff that you most likely did as a person rather than as a business. Because a business apology is about like, we need to formulate better plans and better policies and whatnot. But like, when YouTubers get in trouble, it's usually for something they did as a person, not because of a bad business venture. That sometimes happens, but that rarely gets to the level of some of the stuff that I'm more referring to. So how do you do that? How do you issue an apology that will cover for your personal harm that you've done, but will also do the business thing of being like, I pledge to do better. Please continue to support me. And I think the short answer is you can't. Like, legitimately, you can't. Because that key to the personal apology, that acceptance of, if I lose this connection, then I understand and I accept those consequences. If this is your living, that is you conceding the fact that, oh, I don't have a job anymore. And I think that's why, say, James Somerton issued the apology that he did. And again, I'm not going to break it down. I don't want to, for starters. But I suspect that a big part of why he issued an apology at all, whether you think it was good or bad, it was bad. But I suspect part of the reason he did it at all was because the alternative is to find a completely different line of work. And I think he needs to come to terms with the fact that that's what he needs to do. The one thing I will highlight that he did in the video is he said, I still have videos I want to make.
But I do want to make videos again sometime.
Which is rich, coming from a guy who was just outed as effectively not making his own videos. You didn't write them. What do you mean you still have videos you want to make? You didn't make anything. You read a script of stolen words, and then you plugged it into an editing suite and vomited it onto the internet. What do you mean you have videos you still want to make? I think the actual truth behind that is, I still want this to be my living because I don't want to have to start from zero in another business, another career, with no immediate prospects because I can't build off of what I had on YouTube. That is my presumption as being the actual reality. But as an apology for having personally wronged all the people that you stole your work from, no, that doesn't work. And like, there's all the general tactics that not just Somerton, but lots of YouTuber apology videos have. Put as little emphasis and as few specifics as possible on what it is you actually did. Don't specifically mention anybody that you wronged if you think you can get away with it. Do not talk in specifics about what you did. Just say, I'm sorry, and focus the apology on letting down your audience, not on the people you actually harmed. You don't want to bring them up if you can get away with it. And then there's the more sleazy stuff that may or may not factor in, calling it an attack from people, setting somebody else to take the blame. That stuff's often all in the mix. But none of this works. Because again, no matter how you're trying to cover for your business, it's still you in front of a camera issuing a personal apology. But you're doing it for a business. So you can't give the kind of apology that might actually land well. Because you want to keep the business running. Or maybe you need to keep the business running. I don't want to presume what anybody's situation is or isn't in terms of finances. But those two conflicts, they will never, ever work out. And I think that's also part of why we get some really weird stuff like Colleen Ballinger. Like, James Somerton is easier to parse why he did what he did. Colleen Ballinger is harder because, like, what were you possibly thinking? And while I generally avoid any kind of armchair diagnoses of what is going on in somebody's head, I would not be shocked if part of her thought process was, well, I can't just own up to what happened and apologize for that because that'll be the end of everything I've made. So I'll swing for the fences and I'll throw a curveball and I'll do something weird. It didn't work, but when you're in a truly no-win situation, I can't say I blame somebody for swinging for the fences. I guess I can blame them for swinging for the fences with a ukulele, but I feel like that's kind of a factor in there somewhere. And the thing is, I'm going to cite someone who, for a while, was my go-to example for this is how you apologize for this stuff. Unfortunately, and I'll mention this again when I get to the end of the example, I have to caveat this with, even this guy didn't stick the landing. I will still cite him as the best approach when things broke. Warren Ellis is a writer. He is a comic book writer, a novelist. He's written TV shows, wrote some of my favorite comics, some of my favorite shows. He had a fairly large number of credible accusations of abusive relationship dynamic behavior. And what he did when that came out was he said, listen to these women, I am going to go away. Quick addition from the editing phase, his initial statement was slightly more defensive with a few denials that I honestly had not remembered. I'm still going to let this go forward as I originally stated it because I think my memory of what he did is still what I think people should do, but I just want to be clear that no, even he in his initial statement was not quite what I was remembering it as. Maybe I should have checked before I sat down to record. Ha ha! He basically canceled all of the work that he was doing. And he vanished off social media, and he made a pledge to actually communicate with these women who are kind of organized into a bit of a group, because they had been swapping stories about what he put them through. And he had a little bit of that sort of, I didn't understand the power imbalance of the relationships that I did, but it didn't come across as an excuse. It came across as an explanation. Hey, just a quick addendum to this. While I believe it is possible to be sincere when someone expresses, I did not realize that the power dynamic I was in was inequitable, or they didn't realize the full nature of how what they were doing is wrong, can work, there does need to be some degree of plausibility to it. In other words, while it in no way excuses anything, I can buy that a successful man with a degree of influence and power doesn't fully grasp the power imbalance that happens when he gets involved with people it's much harder for me to buy that somebody, say, to pull a random example that I just completely made up, didn't realize it wasn't okay to put out cigarettes on another person's body when that was not something consented to or desired. So, saying I didn't realize that this was a problem needs a level of plausibility, which I felt, at least initially, Ellis had. But again, the big emphasis that he put forward is, believe these women, I need to go away and try and sort my stuff out. And I honestly think that's the best thing anybody can do under these situations. But again, with a YouTuber, unless you've got yourself a really nice nest egg, a really good safety net, some investments, some other means of income that isn't dependent on you cranking out your regular content on a regular basis, yeah, you might not be able to just go away. I'm sure the reason he could is because he's had a fairly lengthy career, and if he wasn't totally mismanaging his money, residuals alone should keep him okay. Now, as I said, unfortunately, even he couldn't stick the landing, because the word from the women who spoke about the issues that they had with him have since said that while he did begin communicating with them initially, as he said he would, he did not take to heart or seem to take on board what they actually said or what they recommended would be the best things for him to do moving forward. And while he hasn't really reemerged, that was really disappointing to see. So even the one guy that I can point to and go, see, that's a good apology, even he blew it in the end. He seems to have come to a conclusion that, well, I know how to fix my problems better than the people who I actually harmed, so I'm not really going to be listening to you. And whether he ever sorts his nonsense out, I don't know. I don't know the guy personally, but that was disappointing. Regardless, I think, again, he did the one thing that YouTubers can't do: go away. It's hard for anybody with a career to just stop doing that thing. But here, especially in the attention economy, where the algorithm forgets you, unless you are already somebody with over 1 million subscribers, the algorithm is very quick to forget you. If you are someone with a regular schedule of content and you just stop. And that puts the business pressure onto personal situations. And again, these two things, that is not a happy marriage. I don't really have an ultimate point that I'm building to. It was just something that I found myself thinking about, like, why do all these apologies suck? Why do they never work? I think it's the nature of the beast. I think unless you are prepared to completely walk away from this line of work, at least temporarily, and therefore risk not being able to regain your momentum ever again, then yeah, the apologies are going to suck. And the thing is, some of these people who have issued these apologies did go away after the apology bombed, though. I have no doubt, had the apology worked, they would not have just gone away and avoided all public scrutiny or putting stuff out, or waited for a long time, whatever it is they chose to do. They fairly regularly do after the apology bombs. And the apology always bombs. And I think it probably always will. So those are my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on this? I try to avoid getting into the weeds of drama and what specific people did or didn't do. I know people are going to cite examples down in the comments, but please don't get into fights with each other about who did what to whom or whatever, because that was not the point of this video, and I really don't want to be clearing out the comments of that stuff, because it gets real toxic real fast, and then I have to just start deleting whole threads of conversations, and I don't like doing that. Please don't make me. So, no matter what your feelings are, even if you feel somebody else posted something very wrong, just try not to fight in the comments. Okay? I'd appreciate it. But if you can keep it civil, drop something down in the comments. We'll talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like a share, a subscribe. They all help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. What I really want you to remember is that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. and I won't apologize for it. Drum roll for my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zubin Lafula, Goddess Elida, Oliver B, Turok the Thing That Goes Doink in the Anime, Ruth, Gozer the Gozerian, Solitary Pictures, Ulrich Bogdan, Geek Filter, Melinda Walters, Toby Jackson, Jen, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Fernambi Likes the Poodle, Robin Powell, T Love, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Pau Barabajoggle, and Mira G. Thanks so much.